Buenos dias. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Kirschner. As you heard, I'm from Albert. We are an artificial intelligence company that helps marketers and agencies run their digital campaigns with the help of an artificial intelligence. So I'm going to start today talking a little bit about how retailers are benefiting from AI today and places where they're not benefiting from AI but could. What it's like to actually have AI in your organization, and then finally some examples that are not just the typical incredible optimization that you can get with artificial intelligence, but also some surprises that you can experience when you're working with artificial intelligence. So first, I want to talk about AI. I'm a marketing guy, and just like every other marketing guy, I love a good buzzword. And unfortunately, today, AI is filled with buzzwords. So I'd like to cut through that and just help everybody understand a little bit more about artificial intelligence. So when folks are talking about AI, they're talking about 6 different sort of characteristics that automated intelligence has. And they basically replicate what we can do. There are things like understanding language, like making decisions, vision, speech. They can make a recommendation or a next best action, or they can even physically work alongside humans on an assembly line. And there are subcategories to all of these different sort of capabilities that AI has. But all of these different capabilities are subsets of what's called machine learning. And so machine learning comes in 3 different flavors, and it's all very complex, but I'm not going to go into detail. But basically, if someone's talking about deep learning, they're just talking about machine learning. If someone's talking about vision, they're talking about machine learning. So hopefully this makes it a little bit clearer about what artificial intelligence is, what the capabilities are, and some of the jargon around it. Now, here's the thing that most people in the artificial intelligence world won't tell you. Algorithms are the key to all of this. And algorithms are simply equations, and they're open source. People won't tell you that. There are probably a little over 100 of them. And they're created at the most elite institutions in the world. And what happens is data scientists take these algorithms, and they have to decide what problem they're trying to solve, which algorithm is going to solve that problem, and then customize it to solve the problem. It sounds simple. It's enormously complex. And it becomes exponentially more complex when you have one algorithm working in concert with another one, or even hundreds, which is what we do at Albert. And so the next time somebody tells you they have AI and they have an algorithm, it's not exciting, it's not unique, it's not different. It's what they do with it and the application and the level of sophistication that they're applying it that you should dig into. So that's enough about artificial intelligence. What's it doing in retail? Well, I'm sure you guys have all heard about how it's being applied in warehouses to increase efficiency, how robots are working alongside humans. This is very well established, state of the art. Another area where retailers are benefiting on the customer-facing side are things like chat. And again, this is that sort of recommendation tool, the interaction with a customer. And oftentimes in AI, if a conversation gets complex, it can hand off to a human to complete a conversation or a transaction. Another area that's burgeoning right now is voice. And voice is getting more and more sophisticated every day, and we're seeing more and more of these devices in more and more homes, and we're seeing that shopping is becoming an activity more and more that consumers are adopting. So AI is already in use by retailers, and they're already seeing lots of success with it. The one interesting place where they're not using it is in marketing. And we actually just recently asked a bunch of marketers if they were using AI in their digital marketing efforts, and they said no. 9 out of 10 were not using AI yet. Well, we think this is a little bit of a miss, and I'll tell you why. because the competitive pressures have never been more intense. This is some data that just came out from Gartner L2. This is 8 retailers, 8 huge big box retailers in the US. This is their market cap. And in the period from June 2017 to June 2018, these 8 giants grew their market cap from $304 billion to $340 billion. A pretty impressive number, right? Well, during those same 12 months, Amazon grew from $474 billion to a market cap of $858 billion. It's as if they had hoovered up the market cap of all of these companies and added it to Amazon. If that isn't a competitive threat, if that isn't an environment that cries out for innovative solutions and to try new things, I don't know what is. The other thing, and this just came out literally last week from the Pew Research Center, is that in the US, the number of hardware units, the penetration of cell phones, of laptops, of tablets has plateaued. And also, time spent on social media has plateaued. What that means is that the media pie is no longer growing. So when you're looking for new customers, everybody is competing for the same pie across the same number of devices. It's not growing anymore. It's tougher and tougher to get organic growth out of your marketing activities. Once again, another reason to really turn to innovative solutions to find new customers and bring existing customers back. And the third thing is that, the digital media landscape has never been easier to understand. It's never been more consolidated than it is. Maybe back in the 1950s with network television, Google and Facebook, the duopoly, they control over 80% of digital media spend. Back in the day, it was easy to pick up the phone and call the 3 networks and put your television ad on TV, and your ad your media planning would be done. Today, this duopoly, it's not that simple. You may have seen this Lumascape chart of all of the ad tech providers between marketers and consumers. These hundreds and hundreds of players have come about to help marketers in this complex digital environment. Even though it's a duopoly, it's still enormously difficult to navigate. And all of this complexity hasn't made things any simpler. So if you take the competitive pressures, you take the fact that the media and hardware landscape isn't growing anymore, and that the media landscape is very difficult, you've got a situation, again, that cries out for some kind of revolution in digital marketing. And we are on the cusp of just such a revolution. Now, this isn't the first time we've been at the cusp of a revolution as business people. The first wave of transformation was standardization that Henry Ford ushered in. He took the process of building a car, broke it into many pieces, put it on an assembly line so that each step along the way could be standardized and also, most importantly, optimized. And it was a revolution that drove society for many, many decades. The next wave of transformation hit in the 1970s to the 1980s. And that was about automating the back office, the rise of desktops, of databases. This was an incredible tool for increasing efficiency. Companies like Walmart rode this revolution to become global giants. It was incredibly powerful and transformational for all of society. Well, we are on the verge right now of a next wave, a third wave, that's really all about artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence processes are flexible, they're fast, and they're adaptive. And what these allow companies to do is to respond in many, many different kinds of ways to the needs of employees and also to the needs of their customers. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the thing to understand here is that there's sort of a paradox. If it's flexible, how can it be so powerful in delivering results? Well, the fact is, it actually is delivering much better results than the standardized processes that AI is replacing. So the way we like to think about it and the way our customers are experiencing when they bring AI into their organizations, whether they are an agency or they are a brand going direct to consumer, what they experience is the machine does what the machine always did. So back to the AI slide, it can transact, it can predict, it can iterate at a machine pace and scale that humans can't. The humans, the people who are already at the company, are able to lead, to emphasize, to judge. You know, someone once said, a machine has never been inspired. The inspiration comes from people. And the trick to this third revolution is when people and machines work together. So the humans actually are able to train and explain about the world, create guardrails for the AI, and the autonomous AI can then amplify and interact and embody those folks and deliver results that's far beyond what we've been able to do just as humans or just as machines. What you're going to see is this partnership that is incredibly powerful, transformational, and entirely brand new. So I mentioned autonomous AI, and this is how we think of Albert. And I think the best way to explain this is by an example from the car business. So a lot of you have probably heard about Google and their drive to create a self-driving car, an autonomous car. And the National Transportation Safety Organization in the US government has created sort of 5 levels of autonomy on the way to that fully automated car. And today, most of the big automobile manufacturers are at level 2. They have a certain amount of autonomy that they're able to do in driving, and but a human is still needed to take over. Tesla has become famous because they got to level 3. Google is doing the moonshot. They're going for level 5, and it's really, really difficult because it has to take into account everything, and the environment is very complex. To take it back to the digital marketing side, so today, when DSPs, clouds, bid management platforms, when they tell you that they have artificial intelligence, they do, it's at level 2, just like the major automakers. There may be one thing that's automated. There may be one set of decisions. It may be incumbent on a human to act instead of the machine. But it's a level of autonomy that is very solid, but it is limited. What Albert has done is created a level 5 autonomous intelligence that works and partners with marketers and agencies to optimize and grow and evolve digital campaigns. And you may say to me, look, Mark, Albert is this startup company and Google is this global behemoth. How is it that Google hasn't been able to deliver that autonomous car and Albert exists and is out in the world running digital campaigns? The answer is the same as the Boeing 777 that I flew to get here. It was fully autonomous. And planes have been autonomous for quite some time because flying in the air is easier than driving on the road, right? There's no bicyclist up in the sky who might swerve into you. There's no random pedestrian who's ignoring the stoplights. So the nature of the problem is such that companies like Boeing have been able to deliver full autonomy. Albert is in the same way. The digital landscape is not a place where anyone's going to get killed, and it is relatively predictable. The other thing is, versus a lot of these other companies, our company, 2/3 of it is development and data scientists. We are a fully research-driven company, a technology-driven company. So that hopefully explains what I mean when I'm talking about autonomous AI and also where the rest of the market is today. And the way we like to think about Albert is that he sits on top of your existing stack. So your Google accounts, your Facebook accounts, Albert plugs into those literally with your logins. you can see all the data files, you can see the log files, every change that he makes, hundreds and hundreds, if not more a day, and understand how he is evolving, optimizing, and growing campaigns. So this is a completely different paradigm from other kinds of AI that are used in digital marketing. And it's been an exciting process for those early adopters who have who've decided that this is the way to go because of the competitive threats. They need to have this kind of advantage. So what are some examples of this? So we had a major retail company and their agency come to us. They had run an experiment, and they had taken 40 of their thousands of stores and run digital campaigns just for those stores that optimized just around those stores and the data that they were getting back from those stores. And it was very successful. And so they wanted to scale this across every store, thousands of campaigns. And the agency had this challenge: how do we hire enough digital campaign managers in search, in social, in programmatic? How do we do that? I mean, it's just not possible. When they discovered Albert, they realized this was the solution. You know, that they could have a human campaign manager work with Albert on several hundred stores. And Albert could do the legwork and the data crunching and the optimization, but you'd still need, you know, a certain number of people to be able to manage this massive campaign. But this physically would not have been possible previously. Another example of how people are using AI, early adopters, is a global CPG company with a presence in 189 countries and thousands of brands. They came to us and said, look, we are new to e-commerce, and we are doing top-of-the-funnel branding efforts, we're doing bottom-of-the-funnel performance efforts, and we're not sure if they're connected or if they're benefiting us. We need to be able to connect the dots and understand how the brand money we're spending is also driving performance in addition to what we can measure through our performance marketing. So we created two tests. One was solely online, the other one was online and offline. First test was on using the Facebook platform, a brand video that ran, and if folks completed, I think it was 50% of it, Albert would look for them in retargeting through the performance ads, and was able to show that there was definitely lift among consumers who had seen the video. The television was a little more complex. We were able to heavy up TV in certain television shows. And then Albert searched out those audiences through various affinities online, and we were able to look and see if people who had likely been exposed to ads were more likely to convert in e-commerce. And so the company could have taken revenue, profit, they could have created a KPI, any one they wanted to create. Instead, they chose return on ad spend. So the return on ad spend that they saw for the strictly online campaign was about 1.5x, and the same thing, surprisingly, for the offline campaign. So finally, they were able to connect the dots between online and offline, top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel, and which simply wouldn't have been possible to do without a machine paying attention and watching and connecting all the dots and all the data that was necessary to prove that out. So we're at the very beginning of a really interesting relationship with them. The last example I'll talk about is a really fun one. This is a company called Red Balloon. They create experiences. It's a gifting company. They're based in Australia. They were first to market to offer this kind of experience-based gifting. And after a number of years, they started to have a number of copycats, competitors, come in. And suddenly their acquisition costs went through the roof. And so they, what they would try one day wouldn't work another day, and they were really, really at their wits' end because their business was becoming unsustainable. They came to Albert, and the machine was able to do an amazing job of rationalizing their acquisition cost, look for efficiencies, but that's not the real story here because that's what AI does. That's the easy part. Part of what Albert does is he's not only optimizing campaigns the way you expect him to, he's also evolving them. And so he's constantly testing different variables, different keywords, different audiences, different channels. And he never forgets when he tries a test and it doesn't work. He'll go back a little while later and see if it works again. Or if it works, he'll continue to expand the test. It's like these continually expanding multivariate tests that go on forever. And what happens is in a search campaign, for example, we can have thousands or tens of thousands of keywords operating very efficiently because the machine is on top of every single one. So what happened with Red Balloon is they noticed at one point as he was evolving on the search side that he was suddenly buying keywords in North America. And we invite all of our, and they're based in Australia, and we invite all of our clients to tell us when they see something that doesn't look right, because Albert is basically a series of 200 projects that are still in evolution. And so we really are partners in creating this new thing. And so our data folks went in and looked and tried to dissect exactly how the machine had gotten to where he had gotten to, and we're able to do that with lots of tools and able to make it so that it's very clear what Albert is doing all the time. And in fact, what happened is he had discovered family members, expats, who were living in North America who were searching to buy gifts in Australia for people who were there. So he found this a profitable segment that no human would have ever been able to discover simply through his exploration. And that's the kind of sort of magic that this next revolution entails, is that you don't only get the performance and scale that you're looking for, you also get surprises and insights. So I hope today what I've shared with you is a little bit about AI and demystifying some of the terminology around it that can be confusing, how it's being used today, and how marketers can use it today to battle in this incredibly complex environment. And then, finally, some interesting ways that people are using it today. So our friends down here are Neural. They are our partner. If you're interested in learning more, please seek out Rodrigo. Thank you.